So recently I've been doing people who turned down the Super Bowl, and then I'm gonna give my thoughts and my takes. Uh, Metallica turned down the Super Bowl. They were why? I don't really see how. Now they mentioned they were there for the fifth anniversary when the 49ers. They're from the Bay Area. I don't really see how they could have necessarily done the Super Bowl because I don't think that their music is geared towards said audience. There have been rock bands that have performed. Obviously, the Red Hot Chili Peppers performed it. The Who did, and the Who was boring as all get out. Springsteen did his. It's hit and miss. Some anthems work, some things don't. But he's kind of guy who can perform anywhere. You know, Tom Petty did decent. Tom Petty Heartbreakers, it was decent. You got to have a certain type of flair to pull that off. You got to have what I call arena rock songs. You got to have what I call a high frequency. And James Hartfield said we don't jump around and don't dance, so we're kind of non and void. That is truth to that because I don't really see how Metallica would have been able to pull off performing at the Super Bowl. Um, that's not really their forte, and I really don't see them necessarily being able to pull it off. You got to have certain songs that kind of work, and again, it's for a certain type of audience, a certain demographic, it's a certain type of hit, certain type of trajectory. Um, I don't think that it would necessarily have been able to work. Just thinking in hindsight, because now granted, their peak and prime was back in the '90s. Let's keep it 100. Of course, a lot of MTV crowd, of course, Enter Sandman, all that back in '91, they were huge, and they after the whole thing with Napster and all that, they kind of mainly for touring, you know, but they kind of got kind of downplayed. And in all honesty, when I think of bands who could probably have knocked out the Super Bowl, they don't come to mind. And I'm gonna tell you, I think a Journey would have worked. I know Aerosmith would have worked. I know Guns N' Roses would have worked. They had stadium anthems. Axl had Adrenaline. Those three come to mind. Van Halen would have worked. Bon Jovi would have worked. So that's five right there. Def Leppard, that's six. See, I can name rock bands that I know that could have, with their hits, catalog, you know, some acts, the Rolling Stones would have worked, you know. Because you got to understand the balancing, obviously Queen, if you go back in the day. So there are bands that come to mind that you can say off the top of the dome. You can probably go almost 10 deep before you get to Metallica. So that would pretty much say you're not going to pull it off. I think if I was going to talk of kind of more modern day Green